Trigunayat with us, and so is Major General G.G. Dwivedi, who's a defense analyst. Ambassador, I'm coming to you first. Could you help me understand what has changed? The fact is that the standoff in eastern Ladakh still continues. It has now been 2 years. We were expecting some sort of disengagement in hot springs. That has not come. It was being called a low-hanging fruit. We are very, very far away from de-escalation and finally de-induction. India had said you cannot have business as usual until the standoff continues. What has changed from then to now?
Well, I think what is happening in the global world order at the moment with this Russia-Ukraine crisis is also one of the factors. More importantly, the Chinese understanding is that the 15th commander level, these talks that were held, have found some move forward, and there would be a de-escalation. I guess the both sides were a little bit more hopeful out of this. Of course, not everything has been agreed upon, but as you know, like last time when Prime Minister Modi had gone to China for the BRICS summit before the Doklam was resolved, and I guess this time also they are trying to work on the same things. They understand India's importance and the global scheme of things, and they know they're important close partners. And you rightly mentioned that External Affairs Minister had very clearly said that business as usual cannot continue, that you cannot resolve the border dispute or de-escalate there and then continue to have the business. But the business has continued to grow. At the same time, External Affairs Minister had also very clearly outlined that there should be three mutuals, which were very clearly mentioned: mutual respect, mutual sensitivity, and mutual interests. Now, they are very important. In addition, he had also come out with the 8-point matrix, and both these leaders had met in Moscow. They have met in Dushanbe. But of course, this is the first time in 2 years that the foreign minister is planning to visit India. They have many ideas now. And they have come because China today is in fact going to this year host both the RIC summit, Russia, India, China, as well as it will also have the BRICS summit.
Correct.
Now that they are the chairing, last year we were the chair. So now that they want to have a physical meeting, and therefore on the ground we will have to see the developments, de-escalation, and then only there can be a way forward, or the other visits can be.
Okay. Major General Dwivedi, realistically speaking, given the utterances by China in the past, do you really see that de-escalation and de-induction happen? I ask you this question on the backdrop of what is going on in Ukraine right now. I think one of the ways to look at Ukraine is to say to yourself that this is what happens if you keep a wound festering, that if you keep an issue festering, this is what it can lead to. And it is a situation neither India wants nor China wants. But realistically speaking, General, do you think the visit will achieve perhaps what India wants it to achieve? Some sort of cooling off at the LOC, maybe the Chinese stepping back from at least PP15 and some amount of de-escalation?
Well, Shreya, I think speaking from my experience, when you analyze China, you got to go a little deeper, both from the timings and what is the intent, because Chinese always move with a fair amount of calibrated thought process. But I like to go a little bit because having commanded my troops in these areas, well, the Chinese really surprised because there were two one-on-one meetings between the Prime Minister Modi and President Xi in 2018 in Wuhan, followed by another meeting in October at Mamallapuram in 2019. So it was thought that our relations are on a very positive note. There's a definite move forward, and that was the scenario. And certainly in May 20, the Chinese, almost 3 divisions, 50,000 odd troops, they amassed in these 3 areas which are disputed area, Pangong Tso, Galwan, and of course the Epsom Plateau. Now thereon, you see, you have to catch the threads from here. That despite a number of meetings, the 15th one just held only 3 days back, there have been a number of WMCC meetings, and of course meetings at very high level. You know, Wang Yi and Dr. Jaishankar met, then also our National Security Advisor, Mr. Doval, and Yang Jiechi met, but there was no move forward. Now, why this is the timing? Why at this juncture? The two things are very important. Chinese have always said that relations between the two nations should not be seen in this, uh, in the, I would say, spectrum of, the border dispute. They should delink the border dispute and move ahead with the bilateral relations.
How is it possible?
And
You kill 20 of our
second,
people and you expect things to be normal between the two
yeah,
countries, yeah?
now, yes, now that is what we have contested, and that's what our foreign minister has said, that this cannot happen because what is happening on the border had direct impact on the overall relations. Now, these were two very divergent points. Now, coming to why this timing, because as Ambassador mentioned, during Doklam 2017, there was a SCO summit in
Correct.
Beijing, and therefore the Chinese had to do some kind of move forward so that our participation is there.
And they're
And
back in
similar is
Doklam.
the situation
Just
now
by the
with,
way, they are back in Doklam.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, on the ground, I don't think much has changed, but at least diplomatically, the standoff was called off. But on the ground, as a military man, well, there are certain things which we won't like to discuss, but yes, definitely that kind of move back has not taken place. Now,
Okay.
coming to our situation now in the area of Pagong So and Depson, as I said, I commanded my troops here. Here again, the Chinese have taken a very, very ox-headed approach. They are not willing to go back. It's only after Galwan happened and we occupied Shivalik, we occupied the range and Kailash range,
Kailash.
and then only Chinese they moved a little bit in the Pegongsu sector, but they are still holding foot in the area of Hot Spring and also in Depsan. So the Chinese always play very smart where they feel that they have to compromise, they would do a little bit, but otherwise, I think the Chinese came with a very clear intent in May 2020 to give a very strong message to the Indian leadership, as also change the status of line
Okay.
of actual control, almost aligning it to the 1959 line.
Correct.
But two points I like to make a little more clearer. See,
Ambassador,
to that extent, the
General,
Chinese that our relationship and the border should not be linked. Well, to that extent, they have succeeded because our trade last year
correct.
was all-time high, $125 billion, and our deficit is also $60
Correct.
billion. So
Correct.
we have not been to delink from China as far as the trade and this type of relationship is concerned. But nonetheless, India has stood the ground. China has realized that we are no pushover. And yes, definitely, Ukraine has certain lessons.
Okay.
And those lessons are threefold. One is that
we'll
by
talk
sheer
about those
force-
lessons. General, we'll talk about those lessons in just a bit. But let me just get in the ambassador here as well.